All right, class. So today, we're gonna not to confuse you anymore, but we are creating a traditional illustration. So, like I keep telling you, we are going to paint our illustrations. We're going to be using traditional materials. However, you're at a stage where uh, you have your drawing composed on paper the way that you would like to see it, and you need to now start thinking about color. So, as an artist, you need to plan. Most of the time spent is planning, not doing. So, the next step would be planning color and thinking about where color should go. So I'm going to show you the basics to um, opening up your sketch in Photoshop and using basic paintbrushes to play around with color in your image. So you can use if you would like to, before you even get started, you can even use a drawing tab. It might help you to color in um, or you can use the mouse, whatever is most comfortable for you. What you're going to want to do is, you can see I have my tab open, ready to go, and you're going to want to open up Photoshop and then open up your sketch in Photoshop. So I found my sketch and I'm going to open it, and you can see it was already open, but just to kind of show you, I now have my sketch open in Photoshop. If you've never used Photoshop before, a few things that I need you to be aware of. Um, your toolbar will always open, all right, and your layer bar will always open. You almost want to look at it like this is your working space, like your desk space, and you have all of your tools necessary to work with on the left side and your layers on the right side. If these do not open right away, and I know you can't see it because I cut it off in my video, but you can go to Windows and all of your tools are located under Window, and they will open up if not open already. The tools that we're going to be focusing on today include very basics: your paintbrush and your eraser, okay, on the toolbar. The other tools in my video that I'm going to explain to you today are not really so much tools, but focusing on your layers. Okay, so layers are really important to work with, especially when we go to color in our illustration. So right now you have your background open, and your background is your illustration. And what I want you to do, I don't want you to color right on your background because then it becomes permanent and you can't erase it. What I want you to do is create a new layer to build upon. So underneath, at the bottom of your layers, you have all these little icons that pop up, all right? The one that looks like a little piece of paper, you're going to click on, and you're going to create a layer. And this is going to be called, you double click, you can call it your color layer, okay? You can actually try out different color combinations and have multiple layers. Maybe call this one color 1 and color 2. So I forgot to even explain why we're doing this in Photoshop, because it's super easy. So you have to plan out color, and what's an easier way than to plan it out in Photoshop? Because you can play around with color easily, you can erase it easily, you can try out different types of colors, and once you get your colors down in Photoshop, then it will be so much easier to apply your color when you go to paint. All right. So, like I said, this project is all about mixing materials. So we're going back and forth from traditional, digital. Trying to train you to think like this because this is how artists work in today's art world. So when you're painting, you want to paint in one of your layers that you have open. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my color 1 layer when I paint, not my background. I'm in my color 1 layer because that's where I'm going to paint. All right. Using my paintbrush, just to go over a few paint tools with you, you can see that this is the size of my paintbrush. My paintbrush is on black. These are my color swatches. So when I go to paint, you can see that it's obviously black. And it's really big. If I wanted to change the size of my paintbrush, a really quick fix would be your brackets. So if you look at your keyboard, to the right of the P, there are your left and right brackets. Your left bracket will make your paintbrush smaller, and your right bracket will make your paintbrush bigger. So keep that in mind when you paint. All right. If I wanted to paint, the beauty of painting on my layer 1 is that it's not my background, it's not permanent. I can go ahead and erase it, and it's not going to erase anything but the color that's on top of. Right. If I wanted to change the color of my paint color, I can click on my color swatch and pick up any color that I want. So that's why it's good to plan out your color here first before you go ahead and try to paint traditionally. So let's say I wanted to use blue, right? I click on my blue and I have my blue and I can paint with it. And you notice that my paintbrush is still the same. It's just a solid paintbrush with very graphic straight edge lines. If I wanted to change now again this video is going to be very basic. If I wanted to change the color of my my color that I'm painting with, I'm sorry, it's been a long day. If I wanted to change the shape of my paintbrush or even the edge of my paintbrush, I can find all of the custom changes up top here. Okay, so this is my paintbrush. This will also, and if you didn't want to use brackets, you could use your size to size your paintbrush. Okay, that will scale it up and down. The hardness will make it harder or softer. So right now my tab is all the way to the right, so it has a hard edge to it, where if I were to pull it to the left, you can see that now it has a soft edge to it, the paintbrush. I also have all different types of paintbrushes that I can choose from, right? Soft paintbrushes, hard paintbrushes. So when you're painting, you want to be aware of what type of paintbrush you're using. If it's like a furry, soft, textured object on your page, maybe similar, maybe like my hair would be like that in the foreground images, I might use a paintbrush like this. If it's something that has a harder edge to it, I might use a paintbrush with a harder edge surface, right? So these are my basic paintbrushes. If I wanted to look for new paintbrushes to use, I can click on my little icon here, this little gear, and I can scroll all the way down to the bottom section, and you can see that there are multiple paintbrushes that I can also choose from. So if I wanted to choose from, let's see, calligraphy paintbrushes, right? I can pull them up. Now, if I wanted to add them to my list, I can hit append, and if I wanted to get rid of the paintbrushes that you see here and exclude them and just have my calligraphy pens, I can hit OK. Okay, and you see that all of my calligraphy pens come up. All right, and you can see that they also work the same way as hardness to softness. Right now it's on hard. If I wanted to make it soft, I could. The cool thing about the paintbrush too is I can actually customize the shape of it. So if I did not want it going in this direction, I can move it so that it's going in the other direction. Right. Not yet, but when we really start diving into Photoshop, I would like to show you how you can go online and you can also find brushes that you can download. And you can download them by going to load brushes. And that's how you would do that. So I don't have any brushes that we're going to download, but you can see that. You can obviously do that. So that's the basics to your paint brushes. You can also let's see, change, I guess, the style of the brush. So you have different modes. Not that this, you could play around with it, not that this is something we're going to work with right now, but it changes the look and appearance of it. So you can kind of play around with that, or you can keep it on normal. the opacity will make the less opacity. Opacity, the word opaque means that you cannot see through something. So the more you take out of it, the more transparent it's going to be. So if I were to pull my opacity down, it's going to make it more opaque. So you can actually, but then notice that it's going to almost work like a watercolor. The more you paint on top of, it's going to overlap on top of each other, right? And then the flow controls the how much pressure is coming out of it. So the less flow, the less pressure. Think of it almost like a like an airbrush, okay? So you can see the thickness of it kind of changes. So you can also play around with that as well. If you are using a drawing tablet and you want it to be pressure sensitive, usually clicking on this icon and this icon will allow the paintbrush to be the drawing tablet to be pressure sensitive. However, for some reason in our classroom, I don't feel like on some of the drawing tablets and computers it works very well, but you can at least try. Know that that's how you would do that. All right, so why am I bringing you into Photoshop and showing you all these paint tools right now when we are painting traditionally? Again, you're planning. So you're coloring in your image. I don't expect this to be a finished product. I just want you to play around with colors and what types of colors you're using. And this is a really easy way to plan something out. So, so all you're really doing is coloring in. So I'm going to start by maybe just coloring in this guy's t-shirt. Let's say I wanted to make his t-shirt blue. I might actually lower the opacity just a little bit so I could see my lines and what I'm doing. Okay. And I don't want to be on a calligraphy paintbrush. So I'm going to change it back to basic brushes. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to make sure that I like to use my soft brushes. So I'm going to keep on this one. I'm just going to go in and color in. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's like you're coloring in a coloring book. Okay. It could be kind of messy. Again, we're just getting a generalized color of what we're trying to create here. Okay. And let's say I decided I'm going to add a little bit of blue here. And maybe her skirt's going to be blue. One thing I'd suggest is, again, looking at your color, right? So think about your color combinations, what types of colors you're going to use. Sometimes simple is more. Maybe picking like 4 general colors that you're going to use and stick to it. So notice that I'm kind of placing the same color around in certain areas. Like maybe I'd now make her pants the same blue. Okay, if you're having a hard time with color. Okay, so now let's say that let's say that I was gonna go and make, I don't know, like this here, this color, and maybe her shoes are gonna be that color. Okay. Now let's say I wanted to pick that blue back up again, and I couldn't figure out how to get that blue. Like, geez, I'm having a really hard time. I can't really match that blue. If you open your color swatch up, it'll automatically, the eyedropper will pick up whatever color it is that you're trying to get. Or you can also use your eyedropper, okay, to pick up certain colors as well. All right, so it automatically will just place down that color. The other cool thing about Photoshop is that, let's say you painted in this entire image and you wanted to change a color, a specific color, see what it looks like. You can easily do that by using your lasso tool So really quickly, like this tool will select things. So let's say I wanted to select using the polygonal lasso tool, or maybe the magnet lasso tool, okay? The magnet lasso tool will attach itself to light colors. So let's say I wanted to see what this skirt would look like as a different color. By clicking and dragging slowly, you can see that the polygonal lasso tool picks up light colors and wraps itself around it. So right now it's picking up all the blue that I colored in on her skirt. So with the polygonal lasso tool, what happens is wherever you start, you must end. So if I started here, I'm going to end here. Okay, and so you can see that it picked up that skirt a little bit over here too, but that's okay. Because this is just a practice. We're just planning. So who cares if it's a little bit messy? Then I can go to my adjustment tools. Okay. A quick way to find your adjustment tools, simple way that I'm going to show you if you've never used this before. On your layer bar, you have, again, all of your little icons below. Right, remember we picked up your layers here. You have your adjustment icon. It kind of looks like a black and white cookie. If you click on the black and white cookie, you have a whole bunch of different adjustments that you can make. Hue saturation is the one that you guys would want to use. So let's say I said, I want to see what this will look like as a different color. So right now, because I selected just that skirt, it's going to pull just from that skirt. So if I were to move my tab, you can see that it's just pulling the colors of this skirt. You should only really pull from hue, or maybe even saturation. Hue is another word for color. So by pulling this, you can see that it's kind of changing the color of the skirt very quickly and giving me an idea of maybe what it would look like this color or this color, and seeing if those colors work better than the other colors that I'm using. Saturation makes something brighter or more dull, takes color out of. So when you pull to the right, it's going to make your image brighter, the object, and if you pull to the left, it's going to make it suck color out of it. It's going to desaturate it. Okay? Lightness, darkness makes something lighter or darker. So really, in essence, using all of these tools will help you to plan out your color in many different ways. So your job for this assignment is to color in as if you're coloring in a color book, deciding what colors that you would like to use. Please look at my color and illustration PowerPoint to also find different approaches to how you can look up good, successful color combinations. I hope that this is helpful, and if you have